Hey there, friends on YouTube. This is Panicking, and this is my news update for Saturday, January 27th. Thank you for joining me. How is everyone doing tonight? I hope you're behaving yourself. I hope nobody's getting in trouble. Well, I'm glad I got you hooked on Q. I am surprised. I'm surprised. When I started doing these news broadcasts, and I was putting them over on YouTube, I was getting maybe 1,000 views after 24 to 48 hours of each broadcast. 800, 900, maybe 1,100, averaging about 1,000. My last Q broadcast on YouTube now has 44,000 views already, and it only went out 2 days ago or yesterday. I don't remember. So people really like the Q stuff, and I enjoy doing it. So as long as Q is dropping intel, I will be sharing it with you and doing my best to explain it in the best way that I can. And Q is dropping some really interesting stuff today. And just to give you kind of a rundown of what Q is talking about right now, Q got involved in the discussion of Sean Hannity's Twitter account going down. Was it a hack? Or was something else going on? There was a lot of discussion and debate about that, but Q has weighed in on that and has a very interesting take on what happened to Hannity's Twitter account. Q is talking about the Council on Foreign Relations and the members that are on the Council of Foreign Relations, and the fact that we should be watching what they're doing and what's happening to them. Q has been posting about the laws on military detention of U.S. citizens. Something to look out for. Q has also been posting about the Saudi Prince Al-Walid, who has been freed today. That's one of my news headlines. Saudi Prince Al-Walid, the dopey prince that President Trump was trolling before he got, he's been in detention in Saudi Arabia. He got freed today. A bunch of other princes got freed today as well. Q is also talking about Edward Snowden. And I'm not going to go into it now, but you're going to find out that Edward Snowden is not who you think he is. And we'll leave this suspense for tomorrow. I'm building a Q thread right now as we speak. I'm taking the Q drops. I'm getting, doing some research. I'm getting the articles. I'm getting some images, and I'm just going into research mode right now. I've been doing that all day. I also had to edit a podcast in the meantime, so it's taking me a little bit of time to get my Q stuff together. I'm watching what Q is posting, and I'm looking at the overall theme. And there is an overall theme of this particular set of posts by Q. And Q most recently has been posting about Maxine Waters. And the fact that Maxine Waters is going to be delivering the rebuttal speech to President Trump's State of the Union message. And Q is asking us, okay, find out why they chose Maxine Waters to do the rebuttal for the Democrats to Trump's State of the Union. There is a strategic reason why they chose Maxine Waters to do it. So I'm going to, the State of the Union is in, let's see, today's the 27th. It's in 4 days. It's on the 30th. So Q has been suggesting that there's a lot of things going on. Also, Q has suggested the deep state is in panic right now, and they are doing everything they can to flip the narrative, to change the news cycle, to get our eyes off of the memo that is about to come out. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So let me transition over to the news. And I am going to do the news off of my timeline tonight, my Twitter timeline, if that's okay. False flags, exactly. False flags are coming out. There was a bombing in Eastern Europe, and I don't remember exactly where. dozens of people killed, hundreds of people injured. I don't know if that's a false flag. I'm not sure. Oh, something else to think about. Q has also told us to go and look at the executive order that the president put out on December 21st, which is the executive order that has to do with asset forfeiture, freezing the assets of people and corporations involved in human trafficking and corruption. Q has said go back and look at that and read it and understand what it says. Now, for those of you who would like some help with that, I posted a thread by my friend Galactic Red Pill, who's an internet researcher, a Twitter researcher, and that's on my Twitter timeline. If you want to go there, you can check it out. He kind of broke the whole thing down, looked at all the sections, looked at all the people listed in the annex, gave a description of all of that, some observations about what he thinks it means. So if you want some cliff notes for the executive order, you can go on my Twitter timeline and check out Galactic Red Pill's thread. I didn't want to forget that. So speaking of the deep state panicking, Washington Post, which is New York Times and Washington Post, they are the two outlets that the deep state publishes their information through, mostly. They also publish through CNN, but whenever the deep state wants to communicate a message to the world, it's either going to be on Washington Post or New York Times first, and then it goes out to Reuters and AP, and it goes out to everybody else. But they primarily publish through Washington Post and New York Times. So Washington Post just put out an article today saying that President Trump has told the Department of Justice he wants to release the memo. Now, a lot of you would think, oh, that's awesome, Trump wants to release the memo. But read the article. What they're doing is they want you to think that, and you have to understand the narrative here. Department of Justice, and I talked about this in my last broadcast, has begged the House Intel Committee not to release the memo. One of the Deputy Assistant Attorney Generals wrote a letter to House Intel giving them all these reasons. It's going to cause problems. You know, we need to look at the memo first. We need to have, some idea of what's in there. You're going to cause irreparable harm if you release that memo. Don't do it. Don't do it. So DOJ is flipping out because they don't want that memo released, because they know the damage it's going to cause. It is going to out a lot of corrupt people in the DOJ and FBI. Right? That's what the memo is going to do. Well, there are still a lot of deep state people in the FBI and DOJ. Now, Sessions and Chris Wray are working on getting rid of them, but there's still a lot of people in there. They don't want that memo coming out. So what Washington Post is telling us is Trump is in a war with Jeff Sessions, because Sessions is head of the DOJ, and their narrative is Sessions doesn't want the memo to come out, Trump does. Therefore, Trump and Sessions are at each other's throats. There's a war going on. Trump doesn't trust Sessions. Sessions is being, this is the narrative. This is the narrative that the deep state and the mainstream media are going to want you to believe. That there's a little war going on between Trump and Sessions. And there's not a war going on. The war isn't between Trump and Sessions. The war is between Trump and the deep state that is still entrenched in the intelligence community. So they're spinning their little stories, and they want people to get freaked out, and they want people to think, oh, now we have problems with Trump and Sessions. We don't have problems with Trump and Sessions. That's all a bunch of lies. It's deep state propaganda, and the black hats in the intelligence community are freaking out. And that's why you're seeing, look, last week, New York Times published a little article, said Trump wanted to fire Mueller, but his attorney threatened to quit if Trump was going to fire Mueller. That's their little narrative, okay? Was that true? Of course it wasn't true. But you have to expect Washington Post and New York Times and other mainstream media sources. They're going to try to get you to think that Trump is unhinged. They would love for him to fire Mueller, which ain't going to happen. So they're stirring up all this spin and to deflect and get your eyes off of that memo that is going to come out and the people it's going to damage when it comes out. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to lessen the damage. When that memo comes out, why is Adam Schiff putting out a counter memo? Because he knows the damage it's going to do. He is trying to lessen the damage. He's trying to knock down the points that that memo is going to make when it comes out. And all of this is an attempt to lessen the impact and to get people to doubt the veracity of the information that's going to be in that memo. And all the other, and the memo is just the beginning. The memo is the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more that's going to come out after the memo. That's just the beginning. We're going to have a special counsel, a second special counsel. And the special counsel is going to investigate all the corruption in the FBI and DOJ. And it's going to get ugly. And it's a war. And it's a war of the mind. They want to control the narrative. They want you to think other than what's actually happening. Interesting news in the Czech Republic. The current president, Zeman, won re-election. And he is a populist president, something along the lines of Trump. And he said he is not going to rule out having a referendum on the Czech Republic leaving the EU. So if the Czech Republic and Poland and these other nations decide they're done with the EU, they're out of there, that is going to be a big blow to the globalists. And Trump is working on Theresa May. Q did post about Theresa May. Like I said, when I do my QAnon thread, which I'm building, I'll do a video on that. I'll explain all that stuff. But the president is working to expand his sphere of influence in Europe, to take apart the European Union. It's slow and strategic, but he's doing it. I think the reason why he went to Davos, Switzerland this week was to start laying the foundation for dismantling the EU. I think that's one of his goals that he did not say, but it's clear to me that that's what he's doing anyway. Moving along to other news. Oh, the deep state again. All right. So I found this article that CNN put out. It's an interview with one of our favorite CIA reporters, Anderson Cooper, who this article basically says that Trump is, because he's frustrated and angry about the Russia investigation, he's taking his anger out on Rod Rosenstein. And this is an article in CNN Politics. And CNN is saying that Trump is pissed at Rosenstein and he is ready to just fire him and rip him a new one. And it's just, and see, this is the narrative that the mainstream media wants people to think. That Trump is unhinged. He is angry at everybody. He can't stand this investigation. He's lashing out at the DOJ. None of which is true. None of which is true, but that is the narrative that the media is spinning because they want you to think that Trump's cabinet is in chaos and that the whole DOJ thing is you know, it's a war with the White House, and it's not. It isn't. Trump has a planned, strategic method of doing this, all of it. It's not helter-skelter. He's not at odds with his people. But they want you to think that. And so you're going to, look, it's Saturday. Sunday tomorrow is the news show day. So all of the mainstream media, they're going to have their news shows. What do you think they're going to be talking about tomorrow on the news shows? If you watch Deface the Nation and all the other news shows that come on Sunday, they're going to be lying through their teeth all day long to try to spin the narrative to make Trump look like he's unhinged, like he's at war with his own people, like his cabinet is betraying him. That is what you're going to hear tomorrow and the next week. Now, remember, Q has told us last week was bigger, next week is going to be biggest. We're going to get, I believe we're going to get some really major news come out tomorrow or next week. So we have to be tracking that stuff. All right. Let me see what else I can dig up for news that's interesting. There's not a whole lot more out there really. It's been kind of a slow news day, thank God. And look, it's all about, you know, and CNN is doing things like they're whining and complaining because Trump has requested an upgrade to Air Force One. Well, some people suggested that Air Force One should be replaced, and the cost of replacing Air Force One was going to be over $1 billion. So Trump was like, no, let's just do some upgrades. It's going to cost $24 million. And what do you think CNN focuses on? One of the things that has to happen to Air Force One is it needs some new refrigerators. Okay? CNN actually published an article essentially implying that Trump wants new refrigerators for Air Force One, and it's going to cost $24 million. I mean, look, Trump likes his Diet Coke, but I don't think there's going to be $24 million worth of refrigerators on that airplane. I suspect there's some other things that are going to be going into that upgrade package. The mainstream media is just losing it. They don't even know what to do anymore. They don't know what narrative to spin. They don't know what lies to tell. They're just kind of beside themselves. It's crazy. I did not used to follow CNN on Twitter or Washington Post or New York Times or any of the mainstream media. I never followed them. I'm following them all now, only because I like to look at what they're putting out there and see how desperate they are and see how they're trying their best to make Trump look like this evil Hitler dictator, you know, whatever their favorite word is of the day. I love watching what they're doing because looking at Trump's enemies tells me, it gives me good information, it gives me good data so I can see where Trump is being effective. You know, so yeah, I do follow them now just because it amuses me. Oh man. Also, Q is dropping information about Hillary. Hillary's past and some things that are going to catch up with her and some things we need to look at that Hillary has said in the past, and we need to look at that in a new light. Q has been telling people to go back through the breadcrumbs he's been dropping along the way, review them, and look at them with a new set of eyes. So, like I said, all of that stuff will be coming in my Q thread and then my video, my broadcast tomorrow. Tomorrow's Sunday. I don't watch the news shows, so that's what I'll be working on tomorrow. You have more than you know. If you can go back and look through the Q posts, and I did that, and I saw some things today. I was like, oh wow, look at this. Put this together with what happened today, and it makes a bigger picture. So yes, we have more than we know, as Q has said. I'm getting a much better picture of where this is all going as I follow Q. Q helps me look at the news, look at what's happening with the mainstream media and the deep state, and put it all in a better context. All right, I don't have a whole lot more for you. I should get back to my Q research. So yeah, I'm gonna let you all go. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your financial support. If you want more information on Q, I have it all on YouTube. But what you really might want to do is go to my website, prayingmedic.com. Free articles, free videos, all my podcasts, everything that I have, it's all there on my website. Go check it out. It's all free. There's a lot to think about and pray about. And hey, look, pray for the president. Pray for the patriots. Pray for Congress. Pray for these people. God is doing some really good things, but we all need your prayers. And pray for me. Alrighty, that's it. I'm going to let you go. This is Praying Medic. I will catch you on the next broadcast.